Found a new game on a mobile device on Android.
Oh, what's that?
Conflict of Nations.
Is that one of those free-to-play games?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not into those.
Welcome to the Crollur and Willy podcast.
I'm Steve Roller.
And I'm Willy. We're going to talk about mobile games and all kinds of other stuff.
Mobile games, free-to-play games, microtransactions, loot box mechanics, all that stuff that's questionable as far as like legitimacy and shady practices for like basically money-hungry companies.
They're called free-to-play games, but you can spend money.
You almost have to for some of them.
Yeah, like, for example, like I've been playing that Conflict of Nations, World War III, and I'm not really getting anywhere. But if I spend the money, I can get things done triple the time of what, real time is.
Yeah, like time limits are one of the things that I've noticed. Also resource limits. And
I still play it, though.
If you're having fun, that's great and all, but I also think that I also think that like a lot of people have a problem with spending too much money. And there are some games where it makes it damn near impossible. Like I was playing King of Avalon, right? And King of Avalon is one of those games where when I first started out, like I didn't spend any money at all. And I got my kingdom, I got my castle set up, my dragons, and I was leveling up. And then I realized that I'm busting my ass. I'm at level 10. There are people that are like level fucking 40.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they were level 35 because that was the cap. And then they upped it to 40. But my point here is that these people went from 1 to 40 before I could get from 1 to 10 because they paid.
Yep. So when I played the Conflict of Nations, I try to look at every player's information, like how much gold they have or whatnot. I'm like, oh, this person looks like he's paying money to play this game. I'm going to try to get an alliance with this person because I'll make him do all the work.
Oh my gosh. I kind of did that for a game called Top Wars, which was popular on TikTok for a while. But like I played it and I joined like a US based alliance, and I don't know who the whales were in this game. If you need to know what a whale is somebody who just spends money nonstop.
Right.
They're the big spenders, hence the name whale. The big spenders, they spend a lot of money on these games. And I was in that alliance. I never had to buy anything. Nobody ever attacked. Like I got attacked once in that entire game. And basically they're like, you attack us and we're gonna attack you. So like they attacked me and immediately half of the alliance was like, boom.
Oh hell no.
So it's like, sure, you could benefit that way, but when I was playing King of Avalon, me and my friend group, we all had our own alliance. And then of course there were alliances among alliances. And basically it became the entire server versus, I think there were 2 of them that were a problem, and then one took over. It would, at the end, before I stopped playing, it was everybody against an alliance whose abbreviation was GAC. I think they were definitely foreign. I can't remember what they were, but it was everybody against
GAC sounds familiar. I think that's Russian.
I wouldn't doubt it because there were definitely Russians in that group.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was GAK. But either way, the point is we ended up having an alliance against that one group because all the whales went to that group. Every single one of them. And it took the entire server to basically challenge them because they were all top dogs spending all their money. And I think the worst thing about it is the game encouraged it, because the only way to grow is to either spend money growing or spend money saving your ass using shields to stop them from attacking you. Because you try to grow naturally without spending money, right? And then they come along and attack you and take all your resources.
Right.
And I'm like, what the hell? Why would I play a game that I'm guaranteed to lose, basically?
Yep. That's why you got to find the right people.
The only thing that kept me going in that game was the fact that me and my friends played it. And at some point...
Were any of you guys spending money on this game?
At some point, we were basically spending $5 a week on shields. And I was like looking at this, I'm like, I'm spending $5 a week on shields. I could be spending that money elsewhere.
Beer.
Yeah, unlike you, I don't drink beer.
Oh, okay.
But I looked at it and I'm like, it's needlessly spending money. I'm getting nothing out of it, really.
How long you play this game for?
About a year.
Then you realize you're like, wow, I wasted a year
Yeah,
spending.
basically wasted a year playing a game that was
You're
only
not going to
vaguely.
get anywhere because
Yeah,
you're not spending hundreds of dollars.
the thing is that's not the only game. I ran across another game called Guns of Glory. I looked at it and it was basically a clone, a literal clone of King of Avalon, except for it was set in a different period of time. It was more steampunk instead of medieval fantasy. Instead of dragons and swordsmen and arrow and archers, it was riflemen and airships. All
You'd be
right.
you'd be surprised how many times like a new game comes out, then a lot of companies will make like a copy of.
Oh my gosh, there are zombie versions of this game.
Yeah.
There are mafia versions of this game. There are tons of versions of like this game format. And it's basically a castle or fort building game in which you go out and attack other people. There
Is
are
that
monsters, like there are always monsters to fight, but there are also other
players?
players. So sure, the monsters in like the monsters in the King of Avalon and Guns of Glory maybe mythological things, but the things like in the zombie version of it was like literal zombies, and then in the mafia ones it was other mobs. But then of course, not only was there other mobs that were monster type people, there were also other mobs that were player type people. So it's all basically the same format. And Top
Right.
Wars was the same. I think your Conflict of Nations, as I looked at it, is a little different because it's using more like Risk from what I'm
Yeah,
looking
that's
at.
why I wanted to point out too, because I used to play a lot of Risk, but I just find people to actually play with you because it can take weeks to even like get done with the game.
I was looking at it, and from the limited view that I saw of it, it looked like Top Wars mixed with Risk.
Yeah.
Because it's basically our world, just in the future, people attacking, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's World War III, yeah. So, but the problem with the game is too, because there's many times where when I went to start a new game, the other players join that game will pick the countries. Like the bigger the country you pick, the more resource you get.
Well, that's kind of how Risk mechanics are,
Right.
too.
So one game when I first started playing, I was like, oh, only country I got right now I can pick from is South Korea, and I think it was like Cuba or something like that. I'm like, all right, South Korea. And I realized that I was not getting anywhere because I was not getting enough resource to build shit. So I made alliance with North Korea, which was a bad mistake because North Korea was like, hey, we're going to take over Japan. So I'm like, all right.
I think this game, this Conflicts of Nations game, actually has more strategy in it than just PvP.
Yeah. It's
and
all
level
about
building.
picking the right alliance. You cannot survive the game if you do not make an alliance because eventually.
I think that definitely plays into it. Is that the reason why you're enjoying that game more than some of the other games that are out there is because it's less of a fort castle building clone and more of a strategy game.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Civilization, but long-term Civilization.
I don't see a problem with that necessarily. As long as you're enjoying the game, I think it's cool, and I think the fact that it's not the same as all these other games is probably a good thing too.
And the best part I like about the game, I don't think a lot of people are actually paying money on this game because it seemed like where I'm at in the, like every game I play on this, it seemed like everyone's around the same, setup as me. So it's not like people are spending money, and.
So there's no obvious whales in that game. Nobody that's spending a shit ton of money.
Yeah, exactly. And I noticed that because when I sent like a bunch of troops to take over Africa, it seemed like, it was pretty much balanced. Like the person basically was trying to defend it had like the same shit I had, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely see that.
That's why it got me like kind of hooked on the game. And I don't like playing games for like hours at a time, so I'll just move my stuff, log out, then I'll check it again 3 hours later, see what's going on, then.
I mean, that's one of the things that irritates me about some of these games, though, is the idea behind it of their like of the resource and time management thing is to set you in a place where you check on it like once or twice a day. But some of these timers are like 24 hours, 48 hours. I'm like, you just don't want me to play your game. I'm like, okay, I'll check it next week. How about that?
Well, see, that's the thing too, because they even put it down on the game, right? When you first start your first game, they tell you, oh, you can play multiple games at the same time, so you don't have to sit there and wait. You can play like 3, 4, 5, 8 matches at a
I
time.
noticed some the newer ones all have that where you can play on multiple games. The older ones, you all had to tie all of your different accounts to emails and stuff. You had to log in. Newer ones, you can actually just switch the account in the game.
So think about it. If you time it just perfect, right? So let's say it's going to take 48 hours for one game, right, to build like for example, an airstrip, right, for planes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
On the next game, I can time it perfect where after half that 48 hours, like 12 hours after that, I would just make a new game where the timing would be different. So I can constantly log into different games and, see how my shit's going.
Now, have you played any of the non-mobile games that are kind of like this? They're either free to play or they have microtransactions.
Well, most mobile games are on PC too, so.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, that game I'm playing is on PC.
Because I don't think any of the Clash of Clans games that are on there. I don't think Kings of Avalon or Guns of Glory are.
No.
And I think a lot of these other games, they're not PC games. I do know one PC game that was like a mobile PC game that I did like that I'm questioning on more is Bloons Tower Defense. I like tower defense games and I found a lot of okay ones, but Bloons was one of the better ones.
Are those like the Plants vs. Zombie kind of games?
Kind of. I think Plants vs. Zombies is from one side of the screen to the other, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas the one I'm doing, everything has to follow a path usually.
Oh, I got you.
But I've played a lot of different versions of that, and Bloons is still my best game on that front.
Right.
It's the one with the monkeys and they call them balloons, even though they're technically just balloons. Like they gave them a cute name, I guess.
Right, just get people to want to play it.
But speaking of a game that's on PC and on mobile, Diablo Immortal.
Oh my God, we're gonna talk about this one.
Yeah, how do you feel about it?
I don't like it because I have seen a couple of my buddies being in like top 3 in the server playing it for free, but it requires a lot of their time. When these people are actually paying for it, or using half of their time and still being a higher level. So it's a fun game. The problem is, what pissed me off about it, if you want to play with your friends, you have to be on the same server and you cannot transfer your character from one server to the other. So you have to make a new character.
I think that's one of the things that killed me is trying to get characters all together. The other thing that kills me is the fact that it felt like you had to constantly grind for things that you could also like purchase.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. It was a fun game.
It was, but like after a while, you're doing the same thing over and over to try to grind for the things that you need to get.
It's kind of like Destiny, It's the same freaking mission over and over again.
There is something to say about Destiny, and I think.
Oh, you're in Defend It, huh?
A little later on.
All right.
But I kind of wanted to talk about like other games and other mechanics, just microtransactions in general tend to be a bad thing because they're typically like they're typically designed to be those things that are just small little things over and over and over that they add up, but they're not like a full. It's like you're spending like a dollar here or a dollar there or maybe $2.
Can I say something after you're done though?
What?
There's a few games out there, right, where they'll be like, oh, I'm not talking about the free-to-play games, but there are games out there that's like $4.99, monthly, right, to play it. Monthly. But when you go to, like, make the payment, it instantly jumps up to, like, 12 months, and you cannot make monthly payments, so you have to subscribe a whole entire year to play the game.
That shit is tricky. Like, all right, yeah, it's $4.99 a month, but you have to buy 12 months worth.
Yeah, exactly.
That is really ridiculous.
And these are actually the fun mobile games, but like, let's say like 6 months, into it, you're like, well, this game is stupid. And you're like, I'm done playing. You're still made that payment for the 12 months.
Oh my gosh, I had a problem.
Have you seen that before?
I've seen tricky things like that. I've also seen things where they'll sell you on a discount.
Yeah.
And then the discount goes away upon renewal. And they don't even tell you about the renewal. They just do it. I mean, sure, it's written in there somewhere. But when you go to subscribe to it, like, it's like, okay, we'll bill you later. And then they don't tell you that they're going to bill you. They're just like, all right, we did it.
That's
it
the
was
best part of it.
It's in the terms and conditions. It's not. And of course, it's at a different price.
That's the best part of it, because let's say you're like, well, maybe I'll play this game for 12 months and keep playing it. They don't tell you that it's going to renew,
They usually do in like small print. But the problem with it is nobody reads the small print.
Yeah, so like you purchase a game for 12 months, right? And you're like, well, fuck it, I want to play this game. So you bought the 12-month subscription. Yeah. But then, you're like, all right, I survived 12 months. I'm done playing this game. Oh, boom. It just went through your freaking credit card. You know what I like about Microsoft and Sony with their microtransactions? If you got that, membership, right? Like PlayStation is like, what was it? I'm going to say it's like a premium where you get like discount on games and you get free
PlayStation
games.
Plus?
Yeah, PlayStation Plus. Microsoft has their own. What is it?
Well, there's different
Xbox Live, I think it is, right?
Yeah, well, there's different tiers now. Xbox went down the route of having Xbox Live and Game Pass,
right?
Whereas PlayStation has done tiers of PS Plus. There's PS Plus like basic and.
But I feel like they both did a very good job of what they did, because they don't sit there and renew your membership every year. What they do is they shut it off once
Well, that's if you're buying like a card. If you purchased it online, it does renew every year.
Right.
It used to be that you had to buy cards.
Yeah.
And that system was great.
I loved it.
You get a card, and then that card could be bought with cash, credit, whatever. And then once the card ran out, you had to go back and get another one, or somebody else could buy you it. Now it's tied to your credit card and your credit card alone.
Do you think these companies want your bank information?
Probably, but I don't think it's as devious as you're probably thinking. Not like our last episode. I think they want it so that they can keep renewing it, like you said.
Yeah.
You brought up a subscription to play a game, a monthly subscription to play a game.
Yeah.
And there's one game that I still have yet to play because of that. Can you guess what it is?
Give me a hint. Like, give me like a.
I'll give you a really big hint.
All right.
The same company that makes Diablo makes this game.
Diablo 4?
Nope.
World of Warcraft?
Yes.
All right.
World of Warcraft. I won't play it because you buy the game and then you buy the subscription. And I'm like, you're paying twice. I mean, sure, it's slightly lower than other competitor games, but then you also have to pay monthly.
Well, it's funny because a lot of games try to do the whole same setup. Like Elder Scrolls Online did it. Final Fantasy Online did it.
Yeah, I played Guild Wars, which is basically the knockoff of World of Warcraft.
Why do you have to pay a subscription?
I paid
all right, so does that include the DLC, all the add-ons and everything? Or you got to purchase DLC separately from
There was no DLC for Guild Wars. Back in the day, it was first expansion, then the second expansion, then third expansion.
Because there are games like that you're like, all right, you get the game. With
there was no DLC. It was the full game out in the open. You played it, and then there was a second campaign you played out in the open. It was basically a new version of the game, but it played on the same engine. So they basically just made an expansion. It wasn't a DLC. It was on a disc.
Like, I know we're getting like off topic, but I wanted to
but like nowadays it is basically DLC with Guild Wars 2.
I know this question is like very off topic, but I want to know.
What?
All right, for example, like with the PlayStation, you got Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? And you had to purchase each one separately, right?
Yeah.
You cannot buy the full game. Why do they do that?
I'm sure at some point they'll be able to, but
Oh, okay. Why do they do that? Just try to push it out quicker or what? It's like
I
Walking
think
Dead. They made a
partially,
Walking Dead game.
I think partially it is to get it out quicker, and I think the other part is a money making strategy. You basically tease people with part of a game. You take one part of the storyline that has a beginning and an end, but there's more to it, and then you put the second part out there.
So that gets you wanting to spend your money because you want to know what happened.
Honestly, this is one that I'm guilty of falling for in books. There are multi-series books that I follow that do this, where it's like the first book has a beginning and an end, but there's way more that you could go on. It's like,
Let's add a cliffhanger on there.
yeah,
Cliffhanger.
next book, next book. I'm currently reading Chandela Vaughn's The Coven series. And she's got three different series within this one series, and they each have multiple books. My point is I enjoy books that do that, so I can't really speak too much on video games that do that because it'd be kind of hypocritical, don't you think?
I feel like I never played the Final Fantasy VII remake, but I feel like
the Final Fantasy VII remake feels a lot more like the Harry Potter Deathly Hallows movies, where they split the book into two.
But do you feel like they do the cliffhangers at the end of each one?
Yeah,
Where Cloud's about to fight someone, and they're like, wait for the next one.
but you want to talk about Destiny, right?
Yeah.
Since you brought it up,
is that a pay to win game?
It is not a pay to win game. However, it is a grind your ass off to get everything accomplished game. So it has its faults, but it's not in a monetary value. You're not shelling out your money for the ability to win.
So it is a good game then.
As far as like loot boxes and microtransactions and stuff like that goes,
I want to talk about the loot boxes.
Everything. Oh, okay.
I want to talk about the loot boxes.
All right.
Is that at random or what?
From what I've seen and stuff, a lot of times they are random things that pop up when you accomplish something in a game, particularly when you level up, or you can also buy them. And I think that's where it gets really bad. Is when you can buy them, because then you're basically shelling out cash in order to get something in game. And my thing is when Call of Duty does it, when games like Call of Duty do it, and it's like changes your weapon layout, you're hoping to get a certain weapon or a certain part for your weapon, and it'll change like your weapons it change your rankings in multiplayer depending on what you get.
You know what Call of Duty they actually started doing the looting thing?
No, I don't.
It was the because back in the day Black Ops was big, right? With the whole loot thing, I think it started with the World War II one when they did the World War II.
Yeah, I don't play Call of Duty. I mean, there are a couple of reasons. I've played like one game, and I like the zombie mode.
I like zombies,
but outside of that, like I've never really enjoyed the game because I have a certain taste for like sci-fi FPS, but realistic human versus human FPS, I'm not a big fan of. Like particularly war games.
You were always big into Halo, and Halo started out why you got into Destiny.
I think Halo is the main reason I got into any FPS at all. So following it over to Destiny was almost like a no-brainer for me.
Now, when you play Destiny still, right?
No.
All right,
mostly because I got bored with the storyline and got done with the grinding.
All right, so when you were playing Destiny with the whole loot boxes or whatever, did you end up getting?
They have kind of a loot-based mechanic in the sense that there are certain drops that only happen at a % chance.
Yeah, but when you go to those loot boxes or those loot drops, you ever end up wasting your time getting something that you already had?
Yes, a lot of times.
So that was a waste of your time.
It's a waste of your time, but it's not a money. My thing is they're not wasting people's money. The only thing you could spend money on in the game is cosmetics. And even then, most, if not all of the cosmetics that are in the game can be achieved through either in-game playing or there's an in-game currency called Bright Dust, which you can stock up on.
I'm guessing that the prices are so freaking high.
They're actually not as bad. They're not as bad as you'd expect. Trying to get certain cosmetics in game was hard, but trying to get them through Bright Dust is not as bad if you save up.
I've seen games that use resource to purchase something, and a lot of games would be like, "Oh, you need so many diamonds," and the only way to get diamonds is to purchase diamonds or something.
They do have a purchasable silver currency, but it doesn't affect gameplay at all. You can play the game without using it.
Yeah,
Which is why I say it's not as egregious.
because that Conflict of Nations, you can speed build if you have gold, but it costs money to build.
Yeah, there's
gold.
nothing in Destiny that you can get a one up on.
But there's also games like Elder Scrolls Online. You got Final Fantasy Online, right? Which they force you to spend money because it's really hard to get anywhere.
I know certain games that I played like it's like a gem swapping game. You could play it, and it has that paid tier. Like they have these things where, all right, this is the bonus you get, and then here's like 5 more bonuses that you get if you go premium. But those premium things are things that will help you in game.
Yeah, they make you like not get anywhere. Like Elder Scrolls, for example.
The
Elder
stuff
Scrolls.
you need to get somewhere is all in the premium package.
No, you would have to go to the store if you want to get somewhere from one place to another. You had to buy. Well, you don't have to, but it's going to take a while to purchase a horse because it made it so overpriced where it's like almost impossible to save up your money to buy a horse. Or you can go to the store and buy a horse, and then you're good to go.
So what I'm saying is there are certain cosmetics in Destiny, and then there are certain guns you can get through the season pass at premium. But you get all of those guns through playing it. It's not like a level up.
Time 3 level up.
Like you get a bonus to this level, or you get a bonus at this stage type of thing.
Now, with that Destiny that you were playing, is there like time at all in the game? Like, can you let's say you decide to go to Mars? Is there like a time set? Like, can it go from like light to dark or anything, or is it just straight up like that's what you get?
I mean, there is a little bit, but there's nothing
Wowing about it.
Not really.
Because I like games where, like, if I'm playing a game, I want, like, a time, where, like, oh, you're fighting at night, and stuff like that.
You get nighttime and daytime.
But it costs the company
But
too much
it
money to
doesn't.
do
But
that.
it doesn't actually affect anything.
I mean, like, look at, like, games like Fallout where there's time, when you're out in the dark, there's worse enemies.
I feel like more games should have something that actually changes due to like time.
I mean, look at that one game. Oh shoot, what was it? I was playing it for a while. Breath of the Wild, Zelda. When it hits nighttime, you're
Because the game that I'm currently playing, which is the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition, because I never played the original. I never played it when it originally came out. But the thing is whether it's nighttime or daytime, it doesn't really, nothing changes.
Is there microtransactions on that game too?
Not that I've seen.
Is it online or single player?
It's single player.
Oh yeah, that's why there's no,
You have nighttime and daytime. And to me, nighttime, it's pointless because at nighttime, it just makes things more difficult to see. There's nothing that changes at all. Like, I would love to see like guard changes or something.
That's what's good about Minecraft, because once nighttime hits, guess what happens?
Oh God, creeper blows up your bed. You have to respawn at spawn.
Right.
Which for you isn't too bad because you put your house right next to spawn.
Oh yeah, so if I die, I'm like right there. I'll just.
Problem is, you used up both of my beds that I gave for that house.
Wait, what?
You used up both the beds I put in that house. I put one right on spawn. You went right off of spawn, and you used both my beds.
I suck at games.
I will not change it off of normal. I might change it to hard so that I can cure zombie villagers, so I can cure zombie villagers without the villagers dying. But other than that, like, I won't switch it to easy. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
At least I'm not keeping it on hard.
Yeah, I started going back to like retro games from the first PlayStation. Were you ever big in like the older Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9? You play any of them?
Not too many of them.
Yeah, because I want to let the people know that watches our podcast what game also I've been starting up on.
And what's that?
It's called I think it's Chrono Cross.
Chrono Cross?
Yeah, they had an older version on the NES or the Super Nintendo called Chrono Trigger or something like that, but it's an RPG game. But basically, every decision you make in this game reflects what characters join your side and stuff like that. It's a pretty
Ooh,
cool.
I like that mechanic.
Yeah,
I
so
like when like the choices you do actually change how the game plays.
yeah, like you got
Even in the minor sense, where it's just who's on your team.
like for example, like when you go to like an alternate universe of the main character is he gets put into alternate universe of his universe. You have to make decision making, right? And whatever decision you make can get you a different character. Like for example, like they want you to, you know, sneak into the general's manor or whatever, and you got 3 different choices you can make. You can either sneak in the woods, sneak by the ocean, or sneak by. I never did that one. I can't remember what it was, but whatever decision you make, you get a different character, and depending on what decision you make, the boss might be harder.
Interesting.
It's on the Switch if you want to play it.
Now, when I was playing Hogwarts Legacy, I found out that the only major choices are in one quest line. Elsewise, it's not really. Most of the choices you make are they change your character and the dialogue and stuff. Like there's 2 of them. There's one is whatever you choose as your house changes a certain quest. One of them takes you to Azkaban, and the other one is one of the characters you follow or that you have a quest line with actually changes the way the game plays out.
That game actually looks really good from the trailers I've seen, but I don't own a PlayStation or Xbox. I just got a Switch. But it looked really good from what I seen. Like at first, I kind of laughed at him, like, "Oh, another Harry Potter game," you know. Then
it's actually not as bad.
It looked really fucking good, dude.
Like I've seen an older Harry Potter game and it was horrendous. This is like previously in Hogwarts before the Harry Potter thing happened.
Is it open world too? Like, can you?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it the most open world, but it is open world.
But
I mean, once you get a broomstick, you can pretty much go everywhere. But before then, it takes you forever to get anywhere.
A lot of side missions.
There are a lot of side missions.
So it keeps
there's
you
also
wanting
a lot
to
of
play
there's
it.
also a lot of collectibles.
So it keeps you wanting you to play it. You know?
Yeah.
So how long you been playing that game for?
I don't actually know. I know I played it over like 2 or 3 weekends, and then I swapped to a new game because I can never complete a game for some reason. But
your attention span's like, oh, I gotta try this new one.
That's one of the reasons why I stopped playing Destiny, is because I cannot stay. Like I stuck with that game for a year, and I don't have the time to grind it because I want to play other games. You can't. To be decent at Destiny, you have to grind. You cannot play another game.
That's why I went to that retro game Crollur Cross, because once you beat it, you start a new game. It can be different every time because your decisions that you do is different, and even though it keeps your level the same, the monster levels are going to be even higher.
All right, so I think we're getting a little bit off a topic.
Oh yeah, we did.
But you know what? We just like talking about our passions here. So I think that's okay.
Right.
But my big thing is I don't think that microtransactions are a good thing in general.
Especially when they save your, debit card and credit card information.
I'm thinking especially when it changes the game, whether or not you purchase it. Like if it's just cosmetic, it's not that big of a deal. But if it's something that you get a one-up in the game for, it almost feels like you have to buy into it. I think loot boxes make it more of a gambling thing, and that's not good. That's basically you're basically just playing craps at the casino at that point.
Yeah.
Because you don't know whether or not the money you're spending is going to help you or not.
I mean, if you are spending money on a game, you better know what you're spending your money on because you might not get the right thing.
And then the last thing I just want to reiterate is the fact that a lot of free-to-play games aren't actually free.
I mean, obviously.
I mean, there are some free games out there, but not very many. Most of them have some sort of transaction that relies on people that are willing.
I mean, think about that Conflict of Nations. If I drop like $100 on that game right now, I can probably invade the whole entire world.
Yeah, well, I have a $4 limit. For a mobile game, I have a $4 limit. If I spend more than $4 on a mobile game, then I have went against my own thing there. So
you wrote yourself a little contract, you know?
Yeah, basically, because I'm like one of those people where I look at it, I'm like, if I enjoy this game, it's worth $4. If I don't enjoy the game, it's not worth anything.
Because it is a free game.
So anyways, I thank you for watching the podcast. I'm Crollur.
And I'm Willy. You guys have a good one. Why did you shut it?
Because I was on the notes and I'm like, I don't need the notes anymore. Well,
Then you're like, oh, fuck.
I'm like, oh, fuck, we're recording.